Hi, I'm Dr. John Hatch from Brain Rehab Clinic, and today I'm going to tell you my wellness story. I grew up in an incredible home just outside the Bay Area in sunny California and loved every minute. I was in a family of 5 boys and it was a house of WWF. But when I turned 5, my mother was diagnosed with cancer and passed away. And losing my mom when I was young, right, and going through that turmoil changed the entire dynamic of our home. Not only not having a mother at home or coming home from school to a babysitter or a home empty, and many nights where dad had to work or was gone to things, to then my dad had courted a new, incredible, amazing single mother of 2 daughters. And with that came an awesome change, not only in the dynamic of having 2 sisters, which is a whole different world when you're used to boys only in a house, but also to a mother who was rambunctious and going and always on the move. So I started to learn how to navigate emotional regulation. My second mom was in the school district and super focused in education, and so she raised us to be disciplined and work hard and focus on school, but I was always in the sports. That was my world. The other school stuff was gifted. It was easy until 13 hit and I got a concussion playing side tackle football with my friends. It wasn't in the game of the sport that I was playing, it was just with friends. And I blacked out 18 hours. Didn't come to, didn't understand, to the point I didn't even know my first mom had died. My brain was replaying it. Now when I woke up 18 hours later to my now new mom saying, hey, you got a concussion, take this medication. And she said, do you know mom died? I'm like, yeah, of course I did, why? But that whole 18 hours is still gone in my brain's memory. It's gone. But with it also altered how my brain processed emotion, how I dealt with disappointment with family members or friends, or feeling the need to be fulfilled in a level that I didn't need to prior to that, which is where I focused in all sports, because despite the concussion, I still excelled in sports. And you guys probably see that with your own child. Yeah, he got his concussion, he's fine. He's still killing it, or she's still killing it in sports, but you're watching their demeanor change. You're watching their personality change. You're watching the things that they once loved now go away. I was lucky that I didn't want to let go of that hobby because it was my identity. So after the head trauma at age 13, 7th and 8th grade, I moved into high school. I actually walked into a school with no friends because my middle school went to a different high school. Felt alone a lot, yet I had a brother there, so that helped. And then I was playing varsity sports as a freshman. I was in the popular crowds. I was involved in everything. I knew everyone, and yet grades were hard to maintain. So what did I do? Flirt my way through school. And I would communicate with my teachers, tell my teachers how much I loved them, because my mom was in the school district and they weren't going to let their friend down. And I got through school by being kind and sports. So as soon as I graduated high school and it was done, I went off to Hawaii for 2 weeks with one friend on an amazing surf trip where we were literally hobos in Hawaii and surfing every day, and it was amazing. And then coming home, I got a job for about a year in construction. And then I had a door that fell off its hinges and it hit my neck and knocked my neck out. It bled. I had no surgery. I had no need to go to the ER. And so I went to a chiropractor and he adjusted my neck. I had no migraines. He saw me for 3 weeks and I went off to serve a 2-year mission in France. So while I was serving overseas, I really discovered of what I wanted to become. I love making people happy. As you know, in high school, that was my jam. So I either wanted to be an orthodontist to make people smile, or I wanted to be a chiropractor because I had a great chiropractor and I realized, I really like to help people. I love working with my hands. I've been in the fitness world my whole life. I love being a physical therapist, chiropractor, like that was the world I wanted to go into. And so luckily for me, I had the ability to go to multiple schools and multiple options, and I went to Life Chiropractic West in Hayward, California, because it was close to where I was from. And little did I know, 2 years into school, but my incredible mother who taught me how to push myself beyond the normal realm, was diagnosed with cancer as well and passes away. So now I've lived a life of not only losing one mom when I was young, but now losing a second. And I go from a state of, I just want to be a chiropractor, to how do I help the really debilitated, sick, and dysfunctioning systems. And I knew there was a huge gap between the medical world and general health rehab. The gap doesn't have to be there. You can bridge, you need both. One without the other is actually impossible. That's what we're seeing in today's society. The gap is getting bigger and health is getting worse. We can't just be one, we can't just be the other. So now I go to how do I help close that gap? And then I met Dr. Ted Carrick. He came to a conference at our school and presented on functional neurology and how a brain can change. And he talked about people with severe cases as Parkinson's and movement disorders that would change, like in an instant, like activate the brain and watch a symptom of a tremor stop. And did I believe him at first? Of course not. But did I believe him when I took my first patient who had had a Parkinsonian tremor for over 3 years, and I put colored glasses and a tuning fork in her ear and her tremor stopped? We took the glasses off and the tremor started back on. So I created that as a brain exercise for her, and yet, lo and behold, 3 weeks later, she's like, I clipped into a bike for the first time in 3 years and I got my life back. That was so moving in me that I turned my whole career to functional neurology. So after I see these miraculous change, and as Dr. Carrick said, it wasn't a miracle, this was a clinical expectation. We expect a tremor to change if you activate the brain right. It changed my entire world. But what's incredible about this is, remember I told you a door flew off and hit me in the head and jacked my neck that started me on this whole path. I never knew how bad my brain was. The area of my brain that was damaged was the frontal temporal lesion, which is where you learn other languages. At that point in the game, I didn't know learning French on a 2-year mission was activating my left temporal lobe. And then I stopped studying the French language and I watched my grades decrease. So I was like, oh no, what am I gonna do? So I started studying French again just to keep my grades on average through the university at BYU and get a degree before going on to chiropractic school. And then in chiropractic school, I didn't study French anymore, so I watched this struggle where everyone else would study for a test 3 times or 4 times in a packet and take a test. I was studying 29, 30 times through that packet and still barely making it. And no one knew I was dealing with this. I was dealing with my own battles, my own struggles, my own uneasiness, my own self-worth that was not valued or validated until I came to my own understanding of functional neurology. Some of the great founding fathers of functional neurology, and as Norman Deutsch coined it, a neuroplastician, like this is only the beginning, and we can't have broken brains trying to figure this out. We need working brains trying to figure it out and take it to the next level. And as I jumped into it neurologically in study, I also put myself in that environment. And I took my brain from having to study months on end for board exams to the point where literally when I was sit for postdoctorate exams, I don't have to study. I just walk in and take the test because the knowledge is retained. And what's been amazing is now that I've learned these brain exercises to repair the brain, not only do I not have to study the French language, I've actually retained the French language. So now when I do read it, spell it, or speak it, it's actually much better than it was 20 years ago because my brain can recall and function better than ever. And that's what I did for myself, that's what I do for everyone else, and I'm living, breathing testimony of this. I use this every day in my life, and I study this every day because I know this makes a change, and because I want you to no longer suffer. And that's why we've worked so hard to not only create tools to analyze the brain, where is the breakdown, but also discover whether it changed or didn't. And with those two, you can ride the neurological pathway till that system works. We have seen some remarkable changes in this clinic, and I hope one day that this will be the baseline foundation in whatever field of practice you're doing. you get your brain worked on, and then we work on everything else. The brain is the foundation. You can't fix hormone imbalance if you got a brain imbalance. You can't fix gut issues if you don't have a brain functioning. You can't fix emotional imbalance if you don't have a brain working. Get the brain working and it makes all the difference. My dream is that one day, this will not just be in this clinic, but it'll be in every school and it will be in every country, trying to improve the life of every person on this earth. Thank you again for listening, and if you want to know more of what's inside this brain than just my story, I share a lot of my information on my social media pages, on our YouTube channel, so you can get information and share it with your friends that might be struggling, because I promise you, as you hear what I'm teaching you, you're not just going to think about you. Anybody that you're involved with, you're going to see that there is hope to changing their suffering.